around an Asian man. They strike him in his head and he falls to the ground.
China is lying to us to actively hurt us, actively kill our people and people in many other countries. But China, it would seem, is actively trying to hurt us. And China is lying so they can come out on top. They want us to be hurt, not just the United States, but Australia and countries in Europe as well. We have to stop trusting them. China is responsible for starting it and lying about it so we couldn't respond properly. It's China that's causing this problem, not Donald Trump. The real adversary here is China. They are actively trying to hurt us still and covered this up. I would say they're actively trying to kill us. They're trying to actively hurt us. China is trying to kill us and many others. China, 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 China. This is propaganda.
I'm Nathan Rich, aka Pool Dawang. Today I'm continuing the debunking of Tim Pool's ridiculous conspiracy theory that's blaming everything it can on China. In the last part, I showed you how Tim Pool is spreading lies and misinformation, not bothering to do much research or even click the links that he's referencing. Now we're going to get into the meat of what his conspiracy theory is actually made up of. He begins by talking about an awkward conversation between an interviewer and a WHO official.
I'm not going to get into the full politics of China and Taiwan.
Okay, let's just be honest here, Tim. You're not going to get into the full politics of China and Taiwan because you don't understand them. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and if so, I would love to see your video outlining major important differences between the three branches of the Kuomintang. Or how about the three principles of Sun Yat-sen, and how the third one was actually more like a proto-socialism. I'm sure you're vastly familiar with that. Or how about the blue shirts and the fascist regime that was called the ROC that moved down to Taiwan, was at the time the longest martial law ever in human history, suppressing, torturing, and killing any political adversaries. I'm sure you're just wildly familiar with that, Tim. I guess you just don't want to get into it right now.
He was asked whether the organization would consider Taiwan's membership. When she asked again, the doctor hung up.
Well, Tim, I guess I do have to help you out here a little bit. I mean, I'm sure you already know all this, but the WHO is part of the UN, the United Nations. Taiwan is not a nation. This question is obviously politically motivated. The WHO is not a political organization.
This is a sign that this individual was trying very hard not to displease.
Wait. I know what you're going to say. You're going to say they didn't want to displease Taiwan, right? Because if the WHO declares Taiwan's not a country, which it isn't, then you're going to get a lot of Taiwanese separatists who are going to attack the WHO. Now, why would they do that, Tim? It's not their job to do that. I mean, I assume that's what you're going to say, right?
Displease China.
What? China would not be displeased if the WHO told the truth about Taiwan, which is, you may think you're a country, you may say you're a nation, but you aren't. Taiwan is not a country. Taiwan is not a nation. It is not a sovereign state. And that's not my opinion, that's just a fact. It doesn't mean anything bad about Taiwanese people. It just means that that's not what they are. And you know what's going to happen to me for saying that, Tim? A lot of angry people are going to try to vandalize my sites and leave all these angry comments and report my videos and dislike and do whatever they can to try to disrupt my message. Unlike the WHO and the UN, I don't care. They are supposed to care, Tim, because they are not involved in deciding or declaring that Taiwan is or isn't or shouldn't be this or that. What they're concerned about is health.
This shows the World Health Organization is carrying water for China to a certain degree.
No, this shows that the WHO doesn't want to get involved in a long and painful and pointless political argument. You see, Tim, and what I'm going to say now will be unpopular, both with the CCP and with separatists in Taiwan, and probably with Americans too. I don't care though, Tim. China is in a civil war. The war never ended, they just stopped fighting. And the best option for everyone involved now is a peaceful unification. Nobody wants to go to war. Mainland China doesn't want that. Taiwan doesn't want that. The US doesn't want that. And so even bringing this up is very taboo. Taiwan is part of China, and there is one internationally recognized government of China. And that government is called the People's Republic of China. All of the land of China legally belongs to them. Separatists in a part of a country doesn't make a new country. In order for that to happen, Tim, there would have to be an actual treaty signed. The war would have to be over, which I'm sorry to say, and I know this is very offensive to people. The war isn't over. They're in a Cold War now, and nobody wants that to go to a hot war. But the point is, Tim, the WHO and the UN know that if they start meddling in China's affairs and start prodding and poking at this side or that side, it is not going to end well. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, Tim, but we do know that it's not the place of the World Health Organization to decide. Like I said, this is not a popular view, but as far as I can tell, this is the actual truth of the situation.
We see the lies or the misinformation coming out of the World Health Organization. This caused the problem we're facing now. If they had warned us, we could have reacted more quickly.
The lies? They said the preliminary investigation did not find clear evidence of transmission. You could certainly say that they should have found it earlier, Tim, but you've offered us no proof that they did find it earlier. And this is the thing missing from your little conspiracy theory here, is proof. Even if we believe the blog post with no audio or video sources that claims that they talked to a lady who claims that back on the 25th, someone told her that a doctor was infected, even if that were true, that still doesn't prove the next step, which is that the government knew about it. And until that proof arrives, Tim, you're spreading lies. You are spreading lies.
China is seeking to build its economic power during the pandemic with predatory offers of help to countries around the world.
And here you seem to think that the use of the word predatory here means they're trying to kill people, which isn't the case. They're saying that China's trying to exploit the situation. Don't you think that trying to help other countries is a good thing? Are you saying that they should be giving these things away for free? Or, like, I don't even know what you're talking about here. Can you imagine how worse off we would be if China just acted like, I don't know, the United States this entire time? I mean, the United States during this time has increased sanctions, has started a regime change, and has taken supplies out of Italy. Just imagine if China were doing that. I mean, what the hell are you talking about?
Spain returns faulty testing kits bought from Chinese company as experts say China is filling the void left by Europe's usual go-to ally, the U.S.
Why isn't the U.S. helping anyone, Tim? To me, this sounds like people are just jealous that China's actually trying to do something, effectively or not, while the U.S. is, for the first time in a very long time, not even pretending to try to help anyone.
Or it could be that China is sending out faulty medical supplies because they're trying to actively hurt us. I'm going to make the assumption that's the case.
Really? You're just going to assume the most complicated answer possible with no clear motivations in this big grand conspiracy, rather than the simpler one with strong precedents that doesn't require this grand conspiracy? Why? And then he just goes on about how countries have returned products to China. And for some reason, he doesn't mention how China's launched investigations into these companies, including, for example, the one that sold their products to Spain. That one didn't even have a license to sell those products. And the other thing is, buying from a company is not the same thing as buying from China. These are companies with actual people working at them, a CEO, an accountant. And some companies, Tim, do illegal things, and then they get investigated, and they get punished for those things. So let's hear Tim's reasoning on why China is doing this.
Any of the supplies we have now that work came from China. So how is it that China is able to mass produce working equipment? They lie about what's going on, then start extracting much of that equipment back from these countries like Australia and Canada to China, and then send out faulty equipment.
This is such an elaborate and confusing conspiracy, it's actually hard to keep up. Are you saying that before 2020, China factories never had any quality issues? Are you sure about that, Tim? I mean, have you really researched that? Because something tells me that that's not exactly correct. And then you say extracting equipment. You mean buying equipment? It just sounds like you're complaining about capitalism at this point. They bought supplies when they needed them. And now that they have a surplus, they're selling supplies. That's just standard capitalism. I don't understand. What is your complaint?
I would assume it is intentional. You don't have to.
Why would we, Tim? Why would we assume the most confusing, elaborate conspiracy theory with very little evidence, based mostly on conjecture and assertions, when the answer seems to be so much more obvious and standard?
China launches a fake news campaign to blame the U.S. for coronavirus. ProPublica analyzed thousands of fake and hijacked Twitter accounts to understand how covert Chinese propaganda spreads around the globe.
You know, Tim, I wonder if those are some of the same bots who privately message me saying, dude, WTF, my Twitter account just magically got deleted and said I was a bot. Or maybe it's like those 90,000 bots that were removed from my YouTube subscriber count. You know, the ones who make comments and make videos about the fact that they've been removed
sows disinformation, people lose their lives.
The context that he's in is talking about apparently blaming America for the virus. I don't know why that would kill anybody or how that could cause any real harm, and I haven't seen him show us evidence of that. We know that the CDC has publicly stated that they misdiagnosed COVID patients as flu patients. When was that? How many? Where was it? Which hospitals? What were their names? Does asking those questions constitute a violent crime to you? Is that causing death? I don't really follow your logic here.
When they send faulty medical equipment, people lose their lives. If they're sending out misinformation that gets people killed on purpose, then I can safely say China is trying to kill us and many others. And then I'm going to go ahead and assume that the equipment they're sending out is intentionally faulty, because we used to buy our masks from them in the first place with no problems.
So now we're reaching what appears to be the pinnacle of Tim's logic on China. Yes, Tim, China is trying to kill you because before this moment, there's never been any quality issues from any Chinese products. And now suddenly there are. And that means that they're trying to kill you. And my God, Tim, it's even worse than you thought. You know who else is trying to kill you? 3M. And 3M is an American company, so America is trying to kill you, Tim, by your own logic.
In fact, at one point, China recalled a cargo ship carrying medical supplies that were headed to the U.S. They recalled it back to China to use for themselves. So the supplies made there work for them. The supplies then sent to Italy and the Netherlands and Spain don't seem to work.
Some of them didn't work, and a lot of them did work. And China, the government, is investigating those companies which provided faulty materials. This is, again, public knowledge. I guess you shouldn't be buying medical supplies from unlicensed factories. And wherever you get them from, if you get a bad batch, you should complain about it very loudly. And that's exactly what people are doing. Good. Then China can react and crack down on those companies for doing illegal or immoral things. And as far as I can see, that's what they're doing, Tim. That's not evidence of the Chinese government trying to take over the world and kill everyone. I mean, I don't even know why I have to say that. It sounds so ridiculous. Are you on Adderall? I mean, you do talk very quickly. And this is not a slam, but seriously, if you are on one of these types of drugs, you may need to talk to your doctor about changing the dose, because it seems to me like you're coming down with a strange case of paranoia in which you're connecting all these dots and making a very elaborate, very, very complicated and confusing conspiracy with very little evidence and, again, no clear motive or precedence. Are you all right, dude? I think this is atypical for you, right? I don't remember seeing this from your channel before.
With the big, Chinese controversy surrounding the NBA, when all this stuff started going down in Hong Kong, what did we see?
Oh, I know this one. We saw rioters firebombing police stations, and then we saw CNN report that as police used tear gas against protesters. We saw hundreds of U.S. media outlets downplaying the violence from rioters who were doing things like setting people on fire and stoning people to death in the street, and dramatizing and making the most extreme that they could any police brutality or fighting back or even self-defense. We saw pretty much everyone in the West, including you, I believe, and I could be wrong, pretending to support Hong Kong basic law while only ever talking about basic law Article 45, which vaguely says something about suffrage, while completely ignoring basic law Article 1 or Article 23 or any of dozens of other articles. In other words, we saw lots and lots of anti-Chinese propaganda and rhetoric. I assume that's what you're talking about, right?
How many companies in the U.S. bent the knee to China because they want to suckle the teat? They want what China's got, and they will lie and sell out the U.S. in order to get it.
Again, it just sounds like you hate capitalism, Tim. I mean, this is where the culture of corporations with full agency comes from, where they strive for the best deal at all costs. So it sounds like this is just the risk of capitalism.
That's one of the biggest risks of staunch individualism that we face. There are many people in this country who don't care about this country. They just want money and power. And they're going to lie, and they're going to defend this country that is actively causing harm and death in the United States, Australia, and many European nations.
I think you mean capitalism here. Staunch individualism is not synonymous with corporatism and capitalist markets. It's not the same thing. I wonder why you didn't mention that you're actually speaking against capitalism here. And you've yet to prove intent here. And assuming intent is uncharitable at best and malicious conspiratorial quackery at worst. Tim, what are you doing, dude?
If it did start in India, they probably would have told us about it. They probably would have told us and everyone else, and it could have been taken care of properly.
Really, Tim? So you believe the numbers coming out of India, do you? I mean, they're reporting like under 2,000 cases. And if you ordered masks from India, Tim, and they didn't work, would you make a video expressing that India was trying to kill everyone? Why or why not? So to be clear, Tim, you're willing to swear under oath that right now, India only has less than 2,000 cases, right? I mean, according to you, they're super transparent.
Do not say Chinese virus, and do not allow others to say it either. Why? It originated in Wuhan. They're actively lying to us and causing harm to our country. Why not call it the Wuhan coronavirus, or the Chinese coronavirus, or China's coronavirus? They don't want to take responsibility for it, that's true. But they're also trying to get us hurt, so we should call it like it is.
So the recommendation, Tim, is that people should be vindictive and contribute to a rise in anti-Chinese crime because you've shown some very vague, unsubstantiated rumors and lies and sort of evidence, and you've just asserted these very complex, complicated, strange conspiracies. And so, yes, that's why we should continue to stigmatize entire people. Tim, I'm really looking forward to you releasing a video about the Mexican-American flu, which killed over 300,000 people just in the early days. Now, here's something interesting about that case. I can prove with video evidence, with document evidence, with sources, confirmed, report after report after report, I can prove to you that the United States CDC was underreporting cases for months. And when I say underreporting, I don't mean they reported 80% of them. I'm talking about in the ballpark of less than 1%. So is that what you think should be happening, Tim? Do you think that the world should start segmenting and breaking into pieces and saying, let's blame the United States for that virus. Let's start calling that the white people virus or the United States virus. And because the CDC lied, they definitely were trying to kill people intentionally. Now, again, unlike what you're saying, I can prove, absolutely prove, that they lied again and again and again and again and again, which is much more than you've done in this little video you made. And yet, even I still don't say that they're intentionally trying to kill people. Tim, why is that?
Most Americans support the president in his efforts, and they give him high marks in job approval related to the coronavirus.
Okay, so finally he brings up Donald Trump, and I think we're going to find some common ground here. Because personally, even though I disagree with Donald Trump quite a lot, I think that the hate towards him is really overblown. But there's one thing that surely, Tim, you and I can agree with, which is that his handling of this outbreak, it was definitely the worst handling of an outbreak, at least since the H1N1 virus in the United States. I mean, surely we can agree on that, right?
It's China that's caused this problem, not Donald Trump. And as much as we can criticize Trump for downplaying this initially in the beginning, not as bad as others, but he did a little bit. The real adversary here is China.
Tim, it was very sweet to hear how soft your voice got when you talked about Donald Trump, but he downplayed things a little bit. You might want to check on the side of the bottle to see if delusions are one of the side effects, because, again, I'm not out to get Trump. I'm not. But let's just go over this little claim that you just whistled right past. In 2019, the United States ran a multi-month simulation of an infectious respiratory disease coming from China into the United States. And in 2019, they released the results of that. The results were 586,000 people died. So we know that Donald Trump knew that there was a possibility that this type of situation could happen. It also highlighted a need for more ventilators and hospital beds. All throughout January and February, he received multiple warnings that this outbreak was going to be potentially very serious. On the 18th of January, the HHS secretary talked to Trump on the phone and told him that this was likely going to be very serious. Trump interrupted that conversation, by the way, and asked when e-cigarettes would no longer be banned. When the first case hit America, Trump said it was totally under control. On January 30th, The Atlantic reported that we don't have enough masks. February 2nd, Trump said we pretty much have it shut down. February 5th, the HHS requested $2 billion for respirators. Donald Trump turned them down. 24th of February, Donald Trump says it's very much under control. 26th of February, Donald Trump says the cases are going only 1% of the required masks in the United States. The Ohio government said that they have 100,000 cases in their state. Tim, how many cases do you think the CDC reported for Ohio the same day? 5. They reported 5 cases, Tim. That's the same U.S. CDC, by the way, that was banning doctors from doing COVID tests. Again, public information. So let's use your logic here, Tim. I'm just going to go ahead and assume that this is all intentional. That's right, the U.S. government is trying to kill you, Tim. They're trying to kill everyone in the world, Tim, by your logic. They're the real adversary here, and everything they're doing is totally deliberate, Tim. Do you see any problem with this line of thought? Because this is the exact line of logic that you're using when you're talking about China. And my point has always been that China deserves equal treatment on the international stage. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. If we take your logic and apply it anywhere else, you can draw the same insane, bizarre conspiracy theories conclusions about that place as well. Think about the message that you're sending out to the world, Tim, based on little to no evidence, no facts, and wild conspiracy theories. And for God's sakes, Tim, do some research before you open your mouth about such critical, serious subjects. You owe it to your viewers. Certainly you feel some sense of responsibility towards what you're saying to people, Tim. I mean, hate crimes, while you may not care, they may not be exciting to you. Maybe they're over-reported. Maybe they're not that serious, Tim, but they are real, and that's something that increases. But you know what's even more important to me than hate crimes, Tim? This world is not just magically stable because that's how God wants it to be. It's stable because we don't do what you're doing now. We don't spread these very, very insidious, strange conspiracy theories that attribute intent, that attribute malice, that literally say that a country's trying to kill everyone without damn good evidence, Tim. Damn good. If you look at the conspiracy video that I made recently, even though we have so much circumstantial evidence in that video, I still come to the conclusion that there isn't enough evidence to definitively say this or that. And I break down my entire argument and show you why there's not enough evidence. That's called objectivity, Tim. What you're doing here is just as you said.
This is propaganda.
I'm really disappointed in you, Tim. I don't hate you, buddy. You really need to think about how you're talking about this, where your data is coming from, and really check yourself on the facts. Till next time, thanks everybody. 谢谢。